Mamaroneck, the place where fresh water falls into salt, land that was originally owned by the Siwanoy Indians. Situated 20 miles north of New York City, to her north sits Scarsdale, east is Harrison and Rye, to the south sits the broad flowing river of the Indians, Long Island Sound, and to her west is New Rochelle. Once it was an area of land that stretched from the boundary of the New York and Connecticut colonies down to present-day Pelham. The land was originally granted to the Dutch West India Company in a larger tract of land that encompasses much of present-day Westchester County. John Richbell purchased a tract of land that is now much of Mamaroneck in 1661. Richbell, in the next 23 years of his life, breaks his estate up by giving land grants to relatives and friends. John Richbell dies in 1684, and his nephew, Robert Richbell, succeeds his uncle in a portion of the estate. In 1700, Samuel Palmer obtains the Great Middle Neck from Robert Richbell. This area is later to become the village of Larchmont. The village and the folks who live here are truly proud of the history of the area. The Historical Society proudly displays markers on each of the historical sites. For example, the first toll house on the post road, the Old Town Cemetery, and the Methodist Church. The first one we visited was the Fenimore Cooper Inn. Originally, this was the Delancey house built by John Peter Delancey, grandson of Caleb Heathcote. He received the Heathcote estate from his mother, Martha Ann Heathcote, who married James Delancey. This home was originally built on the foundation of his grandfather's brick manor house, which accidentally burnt down prior to the Revolution. This is the home where Delancey marries his daughter to Mr. James Fenimore Cooper. The house was moved in the 1900s from further up on the hill to its present location here on the corner of the Boston Post Road and Fenimore Road. There have been numerous additions and alterations externally and internally, but the original building structure is now well over 190 years old. The family cemetery was set up on top of the hill. One of the first stones, that of Thomas Delancey, was placed here at the base of a lovely old oak tree. The tree and stone, as well as the stones of the rest of the Delancey family, including John Peter Delancey, are still standing here at the graveyard on Palmer Avenue near Delancey Avenue. Mamaroneck has nothing to show for her participation in the Revolution except a mural hung in the library depicting the battle on Heathcote Hill. Historians aren't even exactly sure where the battle took place on the hill, which is named for its original owner, Colonel Caleb Heathcote. In 1669, Colonel Heathcote received a patent right for land here in Mamaroneck. In 1700, there was a dispute over the legitimacy of this transaction, it being claimed that John Richbell had sold the land in 1660. However, in 1701, King William III confirmed this grant to Caleb Heathcote and made him the Lord of Scarsdale Manor. On October 21st, 1776, on this hill is where the skirmish took place. Early that October morning, American troops connected with General Washington's White Plains forces attacked the Loyalist Regiment, the Queen's Rangers, who held Delancey's Neck, now Orient Point, and the harbor's edge. The Rangers were entirely surprised by the attack by the 1st and 3rd Virginia Regiments under Major Greene and the 600 men from a Delaware regiment under Colonel John Hazlitt. As it was, the American troops wounded considerable numbers of the Rangers and returned to White Plains with 36 prisoners, guns, and a set of colors, the British flags with the regiment flags. On the American side, 3 or 4 were killed, and approximately 13 were wounded. On October 22nd, Brigadier General Howe strengthened his outpost at Mamaroneck by moving the 6th British Brigade to this area. On November 21st, 1777, General Samuel Parson dispatched a letter from Mamaroneck to Governor Tryon expressing violent indignation at the wanton destruction of property and the outrages of harrowing hardships inflicted upon women and children in Mamaroneck by the King's men. Mamaroneck lived under hardship of the Revolution for some 8 long years. It is not until December 22nd, 1783, that the first organized and recorded town meetings were were held to take up, once again, the long struggle for independent representative government.
St. Thomas's Church was originally built in 1704, very much on the same site as this one, which was built in 1886. While still a divinity student, William Delancey held the first services of the Episcopal Church on December 19, 1771, with the aid of his father, John Peter, and his father-in-law, Peter Jane Monroe. These men were the first wardens who founded the church. The original building burnt down in the late 1800s.
All in all, Mamaroneck was no place to become a hero during the Revolution. Her limited opportunities for battle, the only one being the Battle of Heathcote Hill, was nothing for heroes to speak of. The area was occupied for nearly the duration of the war by British troops, but the locals apparently had their share of the action, with gun smuggling and rum running out of the harbor. But regardless of the lack of excitement during the war, Mamaroneck and her inhabitants of today and of days past are proud of Mamaroneck and her revolutionary years.